Namaskar Mitro, welcome to Mastro Family. In today's episode, we are going to discuss about the recent data released by Ministry of Statistics and Planning Implementation for Consumer Price Index or headline inflation. As you can see in the above diagram, that Consumer Price Index has reduced to 5.2% in December 2024 as there is a downward slope. Similarly, consumer food price index has reduced in the recent month and it has come to 8.4%, which was in October it was around 10%, and this decrease in the food price index is basically due to the reduction in the vegetable prices and the pulse prices. तो दोस्तों आज के इस एपिसोड में हम लोग समझेंगे जो ये कंज्यूमर प्राइस इंडेक्स के रिडक्शन का इकोनॉमी पे क्या असर पड़ेगा, क्या रेपो रेट को इसके कारण रिड्यूस करना चाहिए या नहीं. As you can see in the above diagram, that consumer price index has reduced to 5.2%. In the month of November it was 5.48%. Similarly, in the rural consumer price index rural also it has reduced. Similarly, consumer price index in urban area also it has reduced. So it shows that consumer price index has reduced in the last 2 or 3 months. Similarly, friends, if you analyze the data related to consumer food price index as well as consumer price index, we will see that in the consumer food price index there is a downward trend. When it is in October it was a 10.8%, but in the December it has reduced to 8.39%, which is basically contributed by reduction in the vegetable prices and the vegetable prices and the pulses. Similarly, consumer price index is also in the downward trend. Early in October it was 6.21% and now it is 5.22%. तो दोस्तों इसी तरह हम लोग ये देखते हैं जो कुछ अलग अलग ट्रेंड क्या दिखाया गया है इन द कंज्यूमर प्राइस इंडेक्स के रिसेंट डेटा के बारे में. सो इन द थर्ड क्वार्टर overall inflation in the average inflation is around 5.63%, which is as expected by the RBI inflation forecasting. Similarly, there is a chances that consumer price index in the upcoming quarter will be around 4.5%. Yeah, it is true that vegetable prices has reduced, but some of the component of the consumer food price indexes has increased. Similar as for example edible oil and the fats. In this segment there is a inflationary pressure and that it has consumer price index for the edible oil and the fats has increased to 14.6%. Similarly, some of the goods which prices has increased in place of decrease, and the major five component are peas, potato, garlic, coconut oil and the cauliflower. तो दोस्तों अब हम लोग जो इन्फ्लेशन का रिडक्शन हुआ है उसको थोड़ा एनालाइज करने की कोशिश करते हैं, क्या इसके कारण क्या रेपो रेट को रिड्यूस किया जाएगा. तो दोस्तों हम लोग थोड़ा इसके बारे में डिस्कस करते हैं. एज द रेपो रेट is dependent on the inflationary pressure, as we have discussed earlier also, that for the MPC Monetary Policy Committee there is a target that inflation should be between 2 to 6%, means it should be 4% plus 2% or 4% minus 2%, so the total inflation should be between 2 to 6%. But as you can see here that the inflation has reduced to 5.22%, so there is a speculations that the RBI may in the upcoming MPC meeting reduce the repo rate. But there are some other factors which will also be taken into consideration before deciding whether repo rate should be reduced or not. As for example that we have seen in the previous MPC meeting that repo rate has remained unchanged for a longer period of the time, due to which inflationary pressures have reduced and the repo rate has due to this consumer price index has reduced from the upper side 10% to it has reduced to 5.2%. So MPC decisions to sustain or maintain the same repo rate has helpful in controlling the inflation. But now friends, as we can see, there are other economic indicators should also be taken into consideration before deciding that whether repo rate should be reduced or not. As we can see that inflation is reducing, then it is very good. But similarly, as we know, in recent time, Indian rupee has depreciated a lot, and it has reached around 86 or 87 rupees per dollar. So when the depreciation of the rupee is already there, and similarly oil prices are going to be increased due to the Russian Ukraine war or different types of economic instability in the world. So there are chances that RBI may not reduce the repo rate, because due to the depreciations of the rupee or the oil price increase, these factors will also contribute to inflation. So in such situation, if RBI will reduce the repo rate, then it will also increase the inflation. So all the three factors, inflation, depreciation, and oil price increase, will all the factors will only increase the total inflationary pressure. So in that situation, RBI may consider, or MPC committee may consider, that repo rate they will not unchanged. But if they will not change the repo rate or reduce the repo rate, as the finance ministry has recently told that due to the unchanged repo rate, total economic growth has slowed down in the financial year 2024 in second quarter. So now it is very conundrum situation or difficult situations for the MPC to decide whether repo rate should be reduced or not. To welcome then friends, thank you for listening to this episode. In this episode, we have discussed that how due to the decrease in inflationary pressures, maybe the our MPC or RBI will consider to decrease the repo rate, but RBI or MPC should also taken into consideration that rupee is depreciating at a higher rate, and also with that, oil prices in the international market is going to increase. So if MPC will decide to reduce the repo rate, then the inflationary pressures will automatically increase. So we will see what are the outcomes of the next MPC meeting. Thank you for listening to this episode. We will meet soon.